The message came through while I was dealing with customers at my boutique. I'm done with you. I'm heading to Miami with my 8-year-old girlfriend. I've emptied our joint account unexpectedly, just like that. My hands remained steady as I absorbed the words. I assisted Mrs. Thompson in choosing a scarf, my voice steady and unwavering. The sole indication that my husband of 12 years had obliterated our marriage through a text was a subtle constriction in my eyes. I bided my time until Mrs. Thompson exited, her purchase swathed in our signature silver paper, before crafting my reply. Best of luck to you. I'm Anna, and at 36 I just endured the coldest farewell imaginable. While David likely reveled in his dramatic departure, picturing me weeping over his treachery, I was coolly securing my boutique for the day. The warnings had lingered for ages. The endless nights spent working never reflected in his paycheck. The abrupt shifts in his phone's passwords. He'd begun hitting the gym with a fervor, splurging on new clothes, all in a desperate bid to reclaim his lost youth. 3 months ago, I discovered a receipt for dinner for two at a pricey restaurant on a night he insisted he was working late. That evening, I swiftly opened a new bank account at another bank. A week later, when he suggested merging our accounts for simplicity, I agreed with a smile, all while quietly transferring my personal savings to the new account. The joint account he had just drained? It held just the right amount to keep his doubts at bay. Approximately 2 months of consistent contributions. The remainder was securely hidden, accompanied by meticulous logs of every dubious transaction he'd executed in the last year. My phone buzzed once more. Save your breath. Samantha and I are leaving tomorrow. I'll retrieve my belongings later. Samantha? The fresh face at his office front desk. Our paths crossed at the company Christmas party. She cackled at David's jokes, her laughter cutting through the air like a blade. She thought she was discreet, but her hand lingered on his arm, revealing more than she intended. She was young enough to be his offspring. Believed she was unique in his eyes. I ignored his text. I opted to contact my lawyer instead. The one I spoke to 2 months back when I discovered the hotel charges on our credit card statement. It's time, I declared coldly. He just struck. The documents are prepared, she stated coldly. I'll take care of that first thing tomorrow. Should I arrange for him to be served in Miami? Take your time. Let him savor his fleeting victory. Yet another message from David. This is tough for you, isn't it? Time waits for no one, does it? At least your little shop keeps you occupied. My tiny empire. The boutique I forged from nothing, now thriving. The one who outperformed his middle management role in earnings. The one whose profits I had meticulously guarded from our shared finances. A smirk crossed my face as I envisioned the certified letters waiting for him in Miami. Let him savor his fleeting victory. I lingered in our house that evening, plotting my next move. My house, inherited from my grandmother, remained solely in my name, despite David's relentless push to have his name added to the deed. Another fortunate instinct that had delivered results. As I sorted through the paperwork for my lawyer, I stumbled upon our wedding album. David was unrecognizable, a mere shadow of the man he once was, changed due to his personal struggles and self-doubt of his former self. He squeezed into shirts that clung to his softening middle, trying to connect with younger colleagues at his office, tossing around slang that felt absurd from a man of 45. My phone buzzed incessantly with his texts, each dripping with condescension. This has been in the works for months. Samantha gets me in ways you never will. You'll regret it. Perhaps you'll discover someone who actually matches your maturity level. I've already informed my family. They acknowledge the distance that has formed between us. No one is to blame truly. I captured every message, meticulously filing them away in my evidence folder. Let him bury himself further. My lawyer will relish his casual confession of premeditation, his smug declaration about draining our account. The final message seized my focus. Just so you know, I booked our flights and hotel using the joint card. Take it as my final act, enjoy. Flawless. I contacted the credit card company. Mrs. Lawrence here. I must report fraudulent charges and cancel my card without delay. Absolutely, ma'am. Can you pinpoint the accusations? 2 first-class tickets to Miami secured today. Charges at the Royal Palm Hotel. I'll be removing my husband as an authorized user. Got any proof of the deceit? Messages from my husband confessing he emptied our joint account unexpectedly to fund a trip with his girlfriend. I'll gladly send them along. The representative's composed demeanor barely concealed her delight as she revoked the charges. David and Samantha would arrive at the airport tomorrow, only to discover their tickets had been ruthlessly invalidated. Their hotel reservation was obliterated. My phone buzzed once more. Forget the house. I'll keep you there until you discover something more fitting. I couldn't help but burst into laughter at that. Did he honestly believe he had any right to my grandmother's house? Had his arrogance inflated to the point where he no longer remembered who truly owned the ground beneath him? Another strike. I'm aware how much the shop matters to you. We'll settle on a payment for your share, no questions asked. Mine? Concerning my enterprise. I built it myself, funded it myself, and grew it myself, all while he whined about my long hours, dismissing it as just a hobby. I poured a glass of wine, the finest I'd been hoarding for a moment worth savoring. This is acceptable. Tomorrow, David would face the brutal realities of property law and asset division. Tonight, I'll relish the silence and plot my next move. Morning unleashed a storm of furious texts from David. What on earth did you do to our credit card? The airline refuses to honor our tickets. The hotel had the audacity to cancel our reservation. Respond to me. I muted my phone and strode to my boutique. Friday was our busiest day, and I had a fresh shipment of designer handbags to unleash. Life continues, even when your husband abandons you for a receptionist young enough to be his daughter. At noon, his mother rang him up. Anna, David spilled all the details. About your relentless grip. How you sent him packing. He claims you're being spiteful, disrupting his travel arrangements. I put her on speaker as I meticulously arranged the window display. Did he really have the audacity to drain our joint account and rack up charges for himself and his girlfriend on our credit card? Silence reigns. Then, he claimed you forced his hand. You had been frigid and detached. Margaret, I possess his messages. Shall I read them to you? The one where he claimed he had rights to our shared finances? Or perhaps the moment he dared to mock my age? Another moment of stillness. He definitely had a touch of cruelty. I made it clear that his text message crossed the line. Thanks for the call, Margaret. I've always had a fondness for you. It's time to cut this conversation short. My lawyer has instructed me to keep my distance from David's family throughout the proceedings. What are the next steps? So soon? Farewell, Margaret. By late afternoon, David's sister Sophia was ruthlessly circulating family gossip among their mutual friends. David and Samantha found themselves trapped in a budget motel by the airport. Their Miami dreams shattered but not forgotten. He had attempted to use his personal credit cards, but they had been maxed out for ages. Yet another warning sign caught my eye. My lawyer reached out with news. The emergency hearing is set for Monday. With his confession of draining the joint account and the evidence of credit card fraud, we hold a powerful advantage to seize all remaining assets. Has he received his due yet? Not yet. He'll receive the papers at his new motel address, no doubt about it. His girlfriend's social media is a goldmine of incriminating evidence. She's been broadcasting their escapade all day, throwing in some pointed remarks about you. A smirk crossed my face as I recalled my meticulously gathered evidence, a year's worth of dubious charges, hotel receipts, and text messages that laid bare the intent behind it all. David was so consumed by his grand escape that he failed to notice I was right there, observing, biding my time, readying myself. My phone buzzed with yet another message. You really believe you're clever, don't you? But I secured duplicates of every financial record from the boutique. That business is half mine. I sent the text to my lawyer, adding it to the ever-expanding dossier of David's blunders. He'll discover the bitter truth about separate assets and business ownership soon enough. Sometimes the ultimate payback lies in being ready. The emergency hearing on Monday exceeded all my expectations. David arrived in his flashy new outfit, designer jeans clinging uncomfortably, and a blazer that shouted desperation. Samantha lingered outside, her youth glaringly exposed beneath the unforgiving courthouse lights. My lawyer laid out our evidence with precision. David's smug text about draining our account, his credit card deceit, and his trail of concealed expenses. Every fragment meticulously gathered after months of silent scrutiny. Your Honor, David's quickly chosen attorney tried. My client concedes to some impulsive choices, yet Mrs. Lawrence's behavior has been spiteful and deliberate. Assessing the situation? My lawyer struck back. Are you suggesting cautious? My client safeguarded her assets and meticulously documented her husband's dubious actions. That's far from vengeful. That's cunning strategy. The judge scrutinized my evidence, the property deed to the house, the boutique's incorporation papers solely in my name, and the meticulous division of business and personal finances that David had incessantly whined about. Mr. Lawrence, the judge fixed his gaze on David, cutting through the tension with precision. You confessed in a text to intentionally draining a joint account and maxing out shared credit cards to pay for a getaway with your girlfriend. Will you dare to deny this? David squirmed, a flicker of unease crossing his face. I aim for a decisive severance. Through the act of financial deceit? The judge's eyebrow arched, a silent warning hanging in the air. So now you're asserting ownership over property that the documents clearly indicate is not part of the marital assets? The business thrived while we were together. David's lawyer made another attempt. My client will get what they deserve. The business was founded prior to the marriage, my lawyer interjected, and Mrs. Lawrence kept a firm divide between business and personal finances at all times. Every cent spent and gained is meticulously documented. I observed the dawning realization on David's face. He believed this would be a walk in the park, drain our accounts, escape with his girlfriend, and possibly snag half my business in the divorce. He never took the time to grasp my need for separation, ridiculing my meticulous records as mere obsession. The judge declared that the evidence of financial misconduct is undeniable. All shared assets are locked down until the final dissolution is complete. Mr. Lawrence must return all funds taken from joint accounts within 24 hours. But that money's vanished, David shot back. We used it for. Then you better figure out how to make it disappear. The judge silenced him decisively. Mr. Lawrence, the court looks unfavorably upon your use of shared credit cards to finance escapades with lovers. Outside the courthouse, I caught Samantha probing David about their Miami plans. His words faded into the echo of my heels striking the marble floor as I returned to the business he never grasped or valued. The following week saw David resorting to a series of increasingly desperate tactics. He dared to assert that the boutique was his brainchild. He recalled pouring his money into it when it first emerged. He dared to claim he'd been my business partner all along, a lie swiftly shattered by my precise records. He's becoming increasingly frantic, my lawyer noted. His girlfriend's social media reveals they're holed up in her studio apartment now. Turns out, the life of a receptionist isn't the thrilling getaway he envisioned. David's family began to contact him, their tone now a stark contrast to their earlier accusations. We were completely blindsided, Sophia confessed. He claimed you were frigid and domineering, that he had to break free. Then we uncovered his texts where he boasted about pocketing your cash. That's not the brother I expected to see. His mother called again, her voice trembling with despair. His words about your age, about swapping you for someone younger, cut deep. I taught him better than this. I believed I did, at least. I ignored their calls completely. Their support once held weight, but now it resembled rats fleeing a doomed vessel. The boutique flourished, fueled by the whispers of my predicament. Women began to enter with a purpose, drawn in by the allure, often departing with far more than they ever intended to acquire. My ex attempted something like that, one customer revealed while purchasing a designer handbag. He thought he could seize it all in the divorce. Men like that are always blindsided by our superiority. My phone continued to buzz with David's texts, each one dripping with anger and laced with manipulation. You've destroyed it all. I never intended to cause you pain. You'll pay dearly for your spite. Is there no way to settle this? That business owes its existence to my backing. I sent every message straight to my lawyer, leaving no room for a reply. Let him bury himself further. I caught wind that Samantha is reconsidering her choices. It turns out that cohabiting with a middle-aged man who can't even manage his own space isn't the thrilling escapade she had envisioned. The thrill of the age gap that once sparked excitement in clandestine hotel rendezvous now felt starkly altered under the unforgiving glare of reality. She aired her grievances about toxic relationships and lessons learned yesterday, my lawyer noted in an update call, and then erased her relationship status this morning. I had a fleeting moment of pity for David. Close enough. But then it hit me, his laughter echoing in my mind after he casually mentioned he drained our account. His comments about my age dripped with casual cruelty, as if he believed I would crumble without him. Instead of pity, I felt a surge of something far more potent. Hubris. Confidence in my vision. In my silent power. I will defend myself while he underestimates me. The final divorce hearing shattered David's delusions of victory. His arrogance vanished, leaving only a thin veneer of desperation. Samantha was conspicuously missing. She had swiftly shifted her focus to a colleague of her own age, as the whispers in the office suggested. David arrived in his tattered old clothes, the designer wardrobe clearly sacrificed to settle the debts he'd racked up. His lawyer seemed exhausted, likely from the futile effort of searching for loopholes in my meticulously documented separation of assets. Your Honor, David's lawyer made a final, desperate move. Even with the separate property documentation, my client fueled the expansion of his wife's business through mere moral support. Pathetic. My lawyer cut in. Are these text messages mocking Mrs. Lawrence's business as just a small shop? Or those social media posts labeling it her pastime? The judge had decisively reached a limit. The final settlement showcased my meticulous strategy. I retained my home, my enterprise, and my individual holdings. David retrieved his belongings in his car, a mere shadow of its debt. You put yourself in this situation, he spat as we exited the courthouse. I'm forced to return to my parents' house. No, David, you brought this upon yourself. I ensured your attempts to ruin me would fail. His mother stood outside, poised to take him to her domain, his new residence at 45. Everyone saw the bitter twist of his predicament. The man who had ridiculed my age now found himself living with family again while I thrived with my successful business. You orchestrated this from the start, he charged. You saw this coming. No, I simply observed, and unlike you, I grasped the importance of maintaining precise records. His mother intervened. Enough, David. Your humiliation has reached its limit. As they turned their backs, I caught her launching into him. Seriously, what was going through your mind? A mere 20 years old? Draining bank accounts? Firing off those wretched messages? I watched them vanish into the parking lot, a smirk of satisfaction crossing my face. David believed he was sealing our fate with that heartless message. Instead, he had unwittingly set my meticulously crafted schemes into action. My phone buzzed, not with David's messages this time, but with alerts of fresh orders from my boutique site. Life was progressing, but not toward the path he envisioned. Section 3. Part 1. 600 words. 6 months post-divorce, my boutique surged forward with a second location. I saw the irony clear as day. As David fought to piece his life back together, the small shop he had overlooked flourished beyond his wildest expectations. I brought on 3 new hires and unleashed an online store that's rapidly gaining national attention. Whispers of David's predicament spread swiftly among our shared circles. He ventured into dating apps, only to discover that women his age had no interest in a middle-aged man still residing with his parents. Young women, aware of his past through whispered tales, kept their distance. Samantha had clearly forewarned her friends, exposing his pitiful pleas to reclaim her after she had moved on. His career took a brutal hit. The HR department initiated an investigation into his affair with a subordinate, leading to a formal reprimand. The promotion he thought was his slipped away to another, one who had managed to keep their hands clean with the reception staff. He attempted to assert age discrimination, Sophia revealed during her unannounced visit to the boutique. Claimed they were exacting retribution for his choice in a younger partner. HR has just etched that complaint into his record. Seeing his sister in my store was a revelation, a clear testament to how completely David had driven his family away. I realize we failed to back you initially, she confessed, her fingers gliding over the silk scarf with a hint of disdain. He mastered the art of victimhood. Observing his every move, the way he responded in the aftermath. It's disgraceful we ever trusted him. My lawyer kept me informed about David's relentless efforts to undermine the divorce settlement. Every petition met its end. His accusations of inequitable distribution were swiftly disregarded, grounded in the proof of his own deeds. Attempted to argue in his favor his message about draining the account was merely a joke, she recounted, a smirk on her lips. The judge inquired whether laughter diminished the severity of theft. The boutique's success delivered a gratifying blow to the doubters. Local business magazines sought to highlight my narrative, not as a wrong spouse, but as a cunning entrepreneur who fiercely safeguarded her stakes. Young entrepreneurs sought counsel on how to draw a clear line between business and personal finances. Preparation is the ultimate shield, I told the young woman who echoed Samantha. Always trust your instincts. David's mother rang him up now and then, typically after he had indulged in some reckless behavior. He ventured into online gambling, seeking a swift solution to his money woes. He had fallen into a pyramid scheme that lured him with promises of quick profits. Every effort to reclaim his past only ensnared him further in chaos. I can't pinpoint our mistakes with him, she said, frustration lacing her voice during the call. His father and I extended a hand to help him rise again, but only if he would own up to his choices. Yet he continues to point fingers at others. Use Samantha, his company, the judge. All pieces on the board, ready for the final move. I endured the chatter, keeping my distance with a cold resolve. Their family drama was no longer my concern. My life surged ahead, brimming with ambitions for a third boutique and a daring leap into luxury accessories. The sole testament to David's influence on my life was a framed screenshot in my office, capturing his last message before I severed all ties. Enjoy your little shop, It'll occupy your time as you fade into obscurity. Below it lay my latest business award, a testament that true retribution often comes from thriving on my own terms. 1 year post-divorce, I launched my third boutique with a flourish. The event drew local media, but they were not interested in the tale of my failed marriage. A formidable businesswoman was relentlessly expanding her empire. David's betrayal was nothing more than a blip in my triumphant narrative. Samantha made a sudden entrance, catching everyone off guard. She appeared more youthful than ever, or perhaps I simply felt more powerful. She shifted, gripping her purse tightly as if it were her only defense. "Text, I owe you an apology," she said, her voice cold and calculated. I swallowed every word he fed me about your icy demeanor, your grip on control, and your lack of support for his ambitions. Then I observed him attempt those same deceitful tactics on me when the pressure mounted. I meticulously arranged a display of designer sunglasses, each piece poised for impact. Those weren't his dreams, Samantha, they were mere escapes. There's a distinction. I've come to realize that now. She hesitated, then said, he attempted to strike when you locked the accounts. Expected my studio apartment to be a mere pit stop. After 2 weeks of his relentless whining about my closet size and his ridiculous suggestion to take out a loan for a bigger place, I finally grasped the chasm between dreams and mere escapes. I found that amusing. Let me guess, he dreamed big but lacked the means to make it happen? Precisely. Everything would fall into place once his investments hit, once he snagged that promotion, once his cryptocurrency surged as it should. She dismissed it with a sharp shake of her head. I'm seeing someone who's my equal now. We're burdened with student loans and cramped in a small apartment, yet we're forging something substantial. Once she was gone, my assistant manager leaned in and asked, was that the girlfriend? Absolutely not, I shot back. Another woman, just like me, has now faced the harsh truth. I pointed to a young couple scrutinizing our designer handbags. Let's discuss your plan to broaden our accessories line. The boutique had transformed into a battleground. It stood as a testament to defiance, a David of strength, and the triumph of strategy. Young entrepreneurs frequently came to me for guidance, and I made it clear that safeguarding their assets was non-negotiable. David's mother reached out one final time, not to talk about him, but to express her gratitude to me. You delivered a lesson our family won't forget, she said. About justifying wickedness, about rationalizing brutality. David remains at home, casting blame on everyone but himself for his failures. We're done defending him. Your legacy to our family is clear. You've shown us the line between true support and mere enabling. I contemplated that legacy while examining the plans for a fourth location. David aimed to belittle me, to swap me for a fresher version and seize half of all I'd created. Instead, he'd unwittingly fueled my rise to greater strength and success. A text from my lawyer lit up my phone, a reminder of the battle ahead. David submitted yet another petition to challenge the settlement. The judge wasted no time, dismissing it outright and mandating he cover the court costs. Perhaps that was expected. A smirk crossed my lips as I envisioned him in his childhood bedroom, futilely attempting to rewrite an ending sealed the moment he misjudged my resolve. Revenge isn't just about settling scores, it's about rising above and proving your worth. 2 years after David's vicious text, I got an invitation to speak at a women's business conference. The subject was neither separation nor treachery. It was about forging and defending a thriving empire. My story transformed from a warning into a powerful rallying cry. A woman inquired about the necessity of separating business and personal finances during the Q&A session. My husband claims I'm just being paranoid. That marriage demands total transparency. My ex-husband said the same thing, I shot back. Right until he attempted to try to claim a portion of my business. Rely on your gut. Defense is not delusion. The boutique chain expanded to 5 locations, each outshining the previous one. The tiny shop David had ridiculed now boasted 30 employees and graced the pages of numerous national magazines. I learned through mutual friends that David has finally escaped his parents' house, now residing in a cramped apartment above a garage. After his former company downsized and eliminated his position, he was forced into a lower-paying job. His dating profile claimed he was young at heart, but the outdated photo told a different story. Samantha, in a twist of fate, had turned into a frequent visitor at my original boutique. She'd secured her business degree and launched her own social media consulting firm. Once she confessed that I ignited something within her, demonstrating how a woman can forge something enduring rather than succumbing to hollow assurances. I displayed David's vicious text message prominently in my office. Not a symbol of suffering, but a testament to my relentless journey. Below it hung a sign that declared success is the ultimate payback. At the 5-year anniversary of my original boutique, I faced my employees and loyal customers with unwavering resolve. The space morphed from a mere shop into the crown jewel of a formidable business empire. David's mother showed up, despite my lack of an invitation. She bided her time, striking when the crowd had finally dispersed. "I spotted David yesterday," she remarked, adjusting her designer dress, the one she had snagged from my store. He reminisced about his glory days, the life that could have been his. He still fails to grasp that the divorce didn't strip him of it all. He discarded it without a second thought. I mulled over that text message. His nonchalant malice. His belief that I would shatter in his absence. How he thought I'd grovel, crumble, and validate his twisted view of my neediness. I forged something far more formidable than what came before. Every new boutique location stood as a bold declaration of what women could accomplish when they refused to shrink for the insecure. The young saleswoman I'd hired last month, also named Samantha, approached me with a question about the new inventory system I'd put in place. While detailing the process, I noticed my reflection in the store window, a stark reminder of what I had become. I noticed what David overlooked 5 years back. Not a woman aging, but one sharpening her edge, growing formidable, and achieving greatness. His inconsiderate text message was intended as a final blow. It was merely the start. Not just for me, but for every woman who heard my story and recognized she deserves more than being a pawn in someone else's midlife crisis.